Hello and welcome. I am Yogesh. This is episode 3 of Getting Started with Lowcoder in Easy Steps. We will start building our ToDo app from this episode onwards. So let's get kicking. I'll go to New App. Whenever you create a new app, the first thing that you need to do is to rename your app from here. So edit the name and give it a logical name that is easy for you to remember and for others to understand. So let's say my ToDo app new and press enter. We are on this blank canvas. The first thing that we need to do is that we need to set the data source. As we had seen previously, we'll be getting dummy data using the Mockoon API, and we had seen this area over here. So we'll be getting the to do from this particular API. So the URL to access this API is very simple. You use this URL and then you use the resource name. In our case, it will be to-dos. So let's copy this, go back to our application. Over here, let's create new and say REST query. Over here, we can name the query, get all to-dos, press enter. I will use the get method and I will paste the URL and then say to-dos. Lowcoder has a unique feature that allows you to test your REST API directly. So let's just click on run. And there we go. We can see the output over here. It shows 100 items. As you can see, the structure of these items is the same as what is shown over here. Okay. To show this data on the screen, we will have to place necessary control or components. So let's place a list view component. By default, all the components that you place in Lowcoder will have some kind of dummy data, which is defined over here. So let's get rid of this data at the moment. And now set this query as a data source. So I will say double curly bracket, all to do is data. And there you go. This list control is a container control, meaning it can hold any other controls or components inside it. So we can select a particular component if we don't want it and get rid of it. So we don't want this, we don't want this, we just want this. So we can just keep it over. This we will be removing this and creating from scratch, but this is just to get you up and running quickly. As you can see, when you select this particular component, it shows over here that the value I plus 1 will increment the value and show the value here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Current item is the item from the data source that we defined in the parent control over here. So let's select this again. Title is the property within the item. So if we run this query over here, we observe that it contains quite a lot of data like ID, title, completed priority, due date. So the title property shows, because it is given over here, it shows up over here. If I would make this into a due date, see, Lowcoder gives us autocomplete. So as I type, it will suggest a value from the object's properties. I just have to select them. As soon as I select that, it will show up over here. As you can see, the title has been replaced by due date. Let's make it title. If you see the application over here, we have a heading and then a form and a list over here, which contains the title of to do, the priority, and buttons. So let's start. Let's first create the list control and then we will add the above part. As the click event is defined over here, we can see that this is a clickable thing, but we do not want this. So I will just go over here and say delete to get rid of it. Yes, but this is a link object and we do not want a link object. So I will just get rid of this object also. There is nothing over here. Let's drag and drop what we want to show. So I will say text display and drag it over here. Resize it as per my requirement. Over here, I will remove this content and then I will say there is a problem in the editor that if you type faster than what is supported, it will the insertion point or the cursor will jump to the beginning of your text block. But so we need to be very patient with this. See what's happening? Let's wait for some time. Current item is the item that will be accessed and the content of which can be accessed from here. So every list has a current item. So when we say current item, it will take one item. Then when you say dot, it will open up all the properties that are there in the current item. Let's select title. There you go. So now you can see the title of this. Let's place one more text control. I will just go to insert and again I will say text display and drag and drop it over here. Let's get rid of this. Current item dot priority. But as you can see over here, we have the word priority and then the value. To do that, we will add the word over here. Now you can see what is showing up over here. Let's make it okay. The the list control is a repeating control, means all the components that you place over here will get repeated as needed. Because of this, we just have to make changes to one component and the copies will get updated accordingly. Let's add two buttons. We'll go to insert. I will say there are many kinds of buttons provided over here, but we'll go for icon buttons. Let's resize it. Now from here, let's select an icon. As you can see, the first icon is for editing. So we will select an icon which is for editing. And let's select this icon. Now let's duplicate this button. So I will say Control C, Control V. There you go. This is going to be the second icon, which is for delete. So I will just select this. I'll remove the icon over here. Click over here and then trash. So let's select this empty trash. Here it is. While working with Lowcoder, we need to be very precise as to where we click. Sometimes, especially when you are working with components that have or that can receive a click event and react to it, we should not click on the component, but we should click on the area outside the component that is highlighted, so that it becomes easier for us to select the component without triggering the click event. We can, okay, so I'll just select this and now let's change the background color to red. Now I have not written one line of program except for the placeholders for the handlebars. And we have data coming up from this particular query and showing up on the screen in a group of 6 because that is the default configuration of list view. As you can see over here, it shows that the page size is 6. You can change the page size according to your requirement and it will show that many components. I mean rows. As you can see, okay, let's make it 6 again. It also has added necessary navigation over here, like we can navigate to different parts of the data that we have received. We can also use the arrow keys. We can jump to the last page, the first page. It is so easy that we have created a list view control which shows us the necessary information, which has the necessary buttons that we are going to interact with in future without writing single line of code. And this is the beauty of Lowcoder. Okay, let's add a few more things to Lowcoder. I'll just drag this component down, add a component over here. Let's make this as a markdown component. Keep it as a markdown component and format it. I will, to make it quick, I will select this color and replace it over here. If you are not familiar with color code, you can always click on the icon over here and this will pop up a color selection dialog where you can select the shade that you want and also set the transparency. Apparently, I'm not doing this because I want to quicken the pace of development rather than spending time selecting everything. Okay, I want to make the font bold. As we can see over here, the font is bolder. So to do that, I will go to text weight property over here and enter a value 700. As I had said previously, you should know uh, CSS to use this style settings. Like to change the size of text, you can give the size over here. To change the weight of text, you can give it over here. Like if I make it 900, it will become more bolder, as you can see over here. I will just zoom out to make it easier for you to watch what we do. Let's make it 400. It will become lighter. The ideal value is 700, which I have set over here. Now let's add a form. Again, we'll go to insert component and search for form. And I will use this under data collection and forms. Let's put it. Forms contain three parts. Again, this is a container component. Title, the body, and the footer. So you can hide the header or the title, the footer, and the body. So depending on what you want to show to the user, you can control it from here. Okay, I will just use this add to do entry as a title over here. Now let's set the background color. The form will contain three fields: the title for to do, the due date, and the priority. Let's add this. So for this, I will put input controls. As I said, this is a container control. You will be able to place your control or component inside this. If it is not a container component, you cannot place any control or component inside it. This is taking a while of time. But anyways, I will go to property and I will say, you can see it shows up over here. I'm making changes instead of my to do. I just said it to do title. As this control or component is inside a form, as you can see over here, we can set a property called required field. When we set this, it will automatically show a red asterisk over here. And When you click on the button over here, it will show the form is not valid message, as you can see it over here. So Lowcoder will automatically handle the validation for you. Okay, if you are using a form component, if you put this text control outside, it will not handle this. Then you'll have to handle it on your own. The space between the title and the entry field is very large. So let's go and reduce that. That can be reduced from here. Let's make it, for example, 20% or 10%. So depending on how far or near you want it to be, you need to set this in percentage. Okay, so there we have. After that, we will have to add priority, due date and priority. So I will, for due date, I will add a component for date time. So let's take the date component and put it up over here. Let's set the label over here to due date. In okay, in due date, when you click over here and go for selecting the date, it will not allow you to select previous date, then the current date. This is what I have uh, done on purpose to show how we can use this kind of features. So let's go over here. Let's select the date component, and you will see that I have just put up a very short code over here for minimum date. So let's go to our to-do. Let's save this and minimum date to. In the same way, to get the current date, we will just have to say js.now. The same over here. So I will go over here and in the default value, I will put it. So the current date will automatically show up over here. Again, the distance between the label and the entry field is very large. So let's go and adjust that also. Let's make it 20. We need to add one more component over here, and that is a drop-down component or a select component. So let's do this. This has the value from 1 to 10. Let's go over here, go into insert, and use this select component. Let's resize it. Let's set the label to priority, width to 20. And now let's define the default values. By default, it has provided two values. So I will just edit them. Let's add. How am I doing this? You may be wondering. Well, it's just simple. I'm clicking on the add button to add a option. So I'll just add 10 options. So Now, when you click on this particular option, or you can click on the over here and you can duplicate it. I just click over here. I'll go to the label. I will select all and I will give the next number. Then I will click on value and enter value. Again, click on this, select all and say 5. 5. 8. 9. 9. And the last one, 10. All select components options have two parts. The label that is shown to the user and the value that will be returned when we try to read value from this particular component. Now that is set, let's set the default value for this to 1. So it will automatically show the value, the first item. As I said, these components are interactable, means you can interact with them directly while building your applications. So you need to be careful. But sometimes it becomes very useful to test what you have done without going into preview or publish mode. As we can see over here, we are able to type over here, and I don't want the user to type anything. I just want the user to select something from the list. So we need to go down over here and disable the search. As you can see in the advanced search, disable it. Now the user will have to select something from the list. The user will not be able to type anything over here. As this is a required control, I'll have to set required field to true. That same thing applies over here. So this builds the first part. Now in the next episode, we will wire these all things up, do the necessary coding so that when the user enters something and clicks on the button, it will automatically go and save this particular to-do using API. So we will be creating the necessary data query to save the to-do to the API using the API and refreshing the list of to-do over here. Thank you for watching.